So we're off. That was a very quick hold and gun fired, but all 45 athletes reacting quickly. And let's see who the leader is. I'm not sure, Posey, the pace is going to be as it was in the freestyle. Very, very dynamic from the gun, really. I think it's going to be a little more tactical today.
I think it's just all going to depend on a couple of key athletes and what they decide to do. We've got some athletes out there who love to grind and make it hurt. So I think some of those are going to be looking for a bit of redemption as well. Pingve Andersen, who hasn't quite had things all her own way this season. She had a really dominant win in Trondheim in the 20k skiathlon there. She's tried to do the same a couple of other times and it hasn't quite worked out. So, what will she try and do? We've got Niskanen, of course. She's always a threat in these classic races. Some of these people might like to keep the pace pretty high, but those that we saw really pushing on Friday were Claudel, were Laukli, who are natural climbers but much stronger in skate than classic, so I don't think we'll see them pulling those same moves again.
Interesting. Well, so you mentioned, yes, Niskanen, she certainly loves her classic. She's had a couple of wins this season in classic style. Carlson, I think always when it comes to the beautiful relaxed flow in terms of classic style, she's always there or thereabouts. And there is Eva Andersen, but two on the left side, well, second column from the left there, alongside Rosie Brennan wearing bib number 4. So the big names, controlling things, but it's very, very early days.
Yeah, again, we saw on, with all the races pretty much here, it's a really good wide track, so they've got 4 classic lanes wide. Quite nice just for this first part of the races with the mass start style. Just gives everyone a little bit of space to jockey around and less likely to have any kind of upsets or crashes early on as a result of that.
And it will be very interesting, as it has been each day of the races here, how the approach to the stadium, who's going to lead down there especially, and of course for the final time. Not an advantage as we've seen coming down the final descent in first position, because you will be past the slingshot, the slipstream. The athletes behind you absolutely get an advantage. So suppose tactically, for those who don't have the sprint finish, we might see a breakaway, as we did in the men's 15 kilometre. Kruger knew he had no sprint finish to match the best, so he broke the field on the second of 4 laps.
Yeah, and I think that's exactly what the women were trying to do as well. That's what Laukli was really trying to do when she put that burst in. So I think those distance skiers, without that sprint finish, know that is the tactic that they need to do. And because the hill is so long as well, it's a real sort of 3-4 minutes from bottom to top even, and it does give an opportunity to break the pack down. I think we got 6 laps, so I'm not sure it's going to happen straight away. It might be 1, maybe 2 laps where the pace is a little bit more kind of casual as everyone's scoping out the opposition, seeing how it's feeling, but I think some people will be ramping the pace up as we get into the meat of the race.
I think so. I love that scoping out the opposition. Love that. Yeah, keeping an eye on who's there, who's good, who's looking strong. So Tyrrell Udnesveng, left side, bib 18, certainly. She really is, for me, Posey, coming back into close to her best form, and I think she'll be a real challenger here today.
Yeah, it's been brilliant to see. I think she had a really tough start to the season. She said she felt it was really difficult to watch the World Cup start and not be there on the start line, but she's looked pretty good, particularly yesterday. She had a really good run through to the final, and in every round with Jessie Diggins as well, who was pushing the pace. So she and Diggins, I think, worked the hardest of anyone yesterday.
It certainly looked that way. But the time there, very interesting. In terms of freestyle, they crossed that 900-meter marker. I think I'm right in saying that 3 minutes and 7 seconds. Classic is slower, it's not as fast. 3:31 for 900 meters. Just a true indicator of how difficult that first almost a kilometer is. Here's the first little reprieve, and it's not a long recovery at all. And there we are. You get about 8 seconds, up to 10 seconds, but you need to work around this bend, and then it's climbing again.
Yeah, and then this is a slightly more gradual, this last bit of the hill, but again, it's you can really lose people if they're not paying attention. They're not kind of on it. I'll just notice there's a technique violation from Astronora Slind. I did notice she was outside of the tracks earlier, actually, double poling on the side, so a little easier to be reprimanded, I think, if you don't have your feet squarely in those classic tracks.
It was Slind, wasn't it? Well, she's already on a yellow card, so she needs to be a little careful. She can't let that slip again. So this is the start. It's just the double poling out for the first 10 or 15 meters and then straight into the climb. So you can see the efficiency of most of these athletes, the World Cup athletes, vastly experienced. And Jessie Diggins, her 300th World Cup start today. That's a vast depth of experience. And pretty hard on the body over, what are we looking at, 11 years since she came onto the tour, possibly longer.
A little bit longer, 2011 maybe, 2011 or 2010?
2010, yes, the end of that season, 2010 she came into the World Cup racing. Yeah, it is a long, long period of time. And you can see now they've just reached a high point. Here's the second little recovery and now a small climb again. So the field, Posey, is beginning to not shatter, but wobble, not able to be quite as compact as we saw at the start. The pace beginning to hurt many.
I think it's certainly going to at least stretch out. I don't think we'll see it completely break up just yet, but certainly some of these Nations Cup athletes, the ones who are starting with the lower bib numbers, it's just going to be challenging, even at what is a more manageable pace for a lot of the day-to-day World Cup races.
Certainly is. So the pace really has picked up. And now, so you can afford to put in a very hard shift for 5.5 minutes, 5 minutes 45, because have a look at this next part of the course. Well, we're not quite halfway around at the moment, coming up towards halfway around the lap of 3.3 kilometers. And now you pick up huge pace, huge speed coming down these switchbacks and bends. These are the Olympic tracks. Remember standing alongside these tracks, supporting our British cross-country team and the days off from the biathlon races at the Olympics. And very impressive, the pace coming back down on these sections.
Yeah, and there are really tight switchbacks, just as we saw on the course profile before they started. A lot of the corners are full 180 degrees, so you have to be a little bit careful on them as well, and particularly in the mass starts when everyone's so close together, just to maintain your line and stay out of trouble.
And you know, a lot of the less effective athletes here, and with total respect, you know, eventually they would normally be dropped on the journey of 20 kilometers. But when you reason that you've just got to hold tight for 5.5 minutes, and then all of the descent we've seen since then over the last 2.5 minutes, it's relatively, you're not, the best are not going to get much time out of you relatively.
No, I'm not sure if I 100% agree with that one, Mike. I think that's a positive outlook for the athletes to have, but I think we saw how long it took to get for that first kilometre, 3.5 minutes. So it gives you a lot of damage in that climb.
It is brutal. Jessie Diggins wearing yellow bib there, looks a little tense, a little panicked. She's just trying to close the gap that's been created ahead of her. And I think she'll very easily get back up towards the front. Jessie Diggins, Victoria Cowell, it's just coming up to 8 minutes, having the first drinks. Another couple of athletes as well. And Jessie Diggins back in, what, 5th position. So for the first time, and it feels very, very quick, doesn't it? 5:45 up to the high point. Now we're only on 8:23, so very quickly back down to the stadium from the high point.
Yeah, and it looks like we've got, what, about 25 or so athletes, maybe 30 still in that group. So we started with 45 today, and we have lost, I think, 10-15 of those from the back of the field already. We'll get a split as they come through the stadium here for the 3.3K.
And with absolute respect for the Canadian and Americans, big numbers, as I mentioned at the start, who are attending. A lot of these athletes are for the first weekend of racing in terms of World Cup. It's a huge experience, and it is very tough for them to stay with the pace here today.
It is, and you can see, I think, just at the back there, that was number 33, just double poling furiously. And the problem is that, you know, you say, of course, you do have a bit of chance to get back on the pack on this downhills, but actually, if you're off and you're by yourself, you've got to put a lot more work in than if you're getting the draft effect. So I think it is pretty much exactly 30 who are in that lead group at the moment. So we've lost 15 already from the back, and it is, to me, it looks like those classic specialists, the ones that are really comfortable with classic that we talked about. So Niskin and Hennig, they're all positioning themselves at the front now. So I think, not sure if they will want to go on this time up the hill, but they're certainly putting themselves in control of the race.
Certainly are, and it's going to be a quick 20 kilometre. That's 9 minutes, 9 minutes and 4 seconds for the first time, and I think the pace was will get faster. It's been quite a firm pace, but I think we'll see some laps slightly faster. 9:04 first time round, and here we go back out onto the climb. So it is quite a big group together, Posey. So all the big names are up there. We haven't had any surprises of any big names dropping off the back of this lead group.
No, that's Carlson and Anderson again, other people who love to be up at the front and just work hard, push the pace, particularly in these longer races. And then other person we haven't mentioned apart from that violation, that technique violation, just sitting in behind Anderson on the left is Astrodorus Slind, who looked pretty good to me on Friday in the skate race as well, so I think we want to keep an eye on him.
I'm with you there, absolutely. She looked very dynamic, I thought, in the freestyle race, and even more efficient for me, I think she is, in terms of classic style. 31 in this league group coming through, and then we've got, they were all just separated by 9 seconds, and then dropping back to 7 seconds to find Margie Fried and Anja Mandelic and Lauren Hjortberg, Anna Parent kind of together. There's a second, or a chasing group, if you like. 20, who's that? 26 there, looking very efficient. That's Caterina Gans, the Italian athlete.
I think this is be interesting, as I say, just get a feel now of who's feeling good and who's just going to start testing out the rest of the competition and pushing the pace a little bit. They had that nice, very, very short little flat section there, and now this is where the hard work really starts with this loop.
I think, well, there's Niskanen, as you mentioned earlier, the big names really, the classic specialists. We've got BIP 6, Frida Karlsson. She's always restless, wants to lead. She's got her big rival team friend there, Eva Anderson, tucked in behind Niskanen on the left. That's Katarina Hennig wearing BIP 12.
Yeah, she's got to be feeling good today. She had a brilliant run in Oberhof, finishing just behind Frida Karlsson. That was the last time we had a 20k classic on the schedule, so I think she's got to be feeling confident. It's such a good distance for her, and of course technique as well. She loves the classic races. She
does, yes. That was brilliant to see her. It wasn't actually her hometown. She's from Oberstdorf, but she was racing in Germany in Oberhof, and that was brilliant second position. Weren't that many fans, but she got all the cheer there today. Back on that day, I should say, but I'm sure they're cheering her again today.
I'm sure they will, but maybe not quite as hard as they are some of the others, but I think she'll understand that.
Now, one thing I was thinking about today, Posey, in terms of the grip wax, because the journey is 5-6 minutes of uphill skiing here on this track today, so at these temperatures, they're not really that difficult for the technicians to find the good formula, the best formula of grip and glide.
I know it should be okay, and as I said, like you can see on the trees on the left, there is a little bit of new snow that's come, but I think it's stayed cold, so it's not too challenging for the waxing conditions. But so important, I think, for a lot of the athletes, psychologically, they'll just be thinking, I really need some good kicks so I can get up these hills.
Oh, I did see, I think it was Lynn Svan actually slipping a little, and that's what brought my thoughts back to the waxing today. Shouldn't be that difficult, but the technicians are going quite light, so not making it over grippy, so that the speed coming off the top of this mountain is as fast as it can be without really slipping your way up these hills.
Yeah, I noticed. We'll have a look when they get to the downhill section again on this second loop here, but I did notice that Diggins, of course, such a great downhill skier, she was one of the few to be able to step round the last corner into the stadium. Of course, if you step rather than skid round, you do preserve the kickbacks a little bit better as well.
You do indeed, yes. Using the edges, it can slide off. Well, they come back together quickly. There was a little break there of some 8-9 athletes, but it's come back together very quickly again. And Kerttu Niskanen, the 35-year-old, there she is, BIP 7. She's quite a name, isn't she, in terms of Finnish victories. She's had 7. The great Matikainen ahead of her is third best ever Finnish athlete with 8, and then Kurvis Niemi way back from the 80s. She won 11, but Koitunen has the most with 30 victories in terms of World Cup racing.
Yeah, she was a great star in her day, wasn't she? Niskanen's such a long-standing name on the Finnish team. It almost feels hard to remember there was anyone before her. She's been around for such a long time, but they've got a great tradition, barring a few periods in their history of classic skiers.
They certainly have, and of course, big brother Liivo Niskanen not here. Yeah, give us the thinking on that. I've heard a couple of versions on why he's not here. He loves classic style.
He does love classic style, but has decided to sit out the whole of this. I think possibly, he's a pure classic distance specialist, so today would have been a prime race for him. But it is really the only one that might have, he's not bad in skate, so there's 2 skate distance races and then 3 sprints, which aren't really his bag. So I think he thought he's out of the overall standings. He's missed too much time through illness, didn't start the tour, so I think just thought not worth it. And of course, straight after this, it's Lafayette, so where there is another classic race. So for him, I think that's the one that he's focusing on.
Exactly, and he has most of his victories. His 8 victories have come at home in Finland. So from the end of February, in fact, up to the 3rd of March at Lahti World Cup. Have I missed something there?
Well, I was just going to say it looked like the pace is hotted up, but that's a little bit of a challenging angle to tell from. So we'll see if we can see them again. But it felt like Niskanen not sprinting off the front, but certainly just upping the pace a little bit.
Well, there's lots of bears in these here hills, but I hope the cameraman's all right there. To miss the action, that's unusual.
Good shot of the feet, maybe just testing their technique out and seeing how the weight transfer is going.
So the pack very much, the big names very much in the action together. We've still got within 12, 13, in fact, yeah, it's a huge pack still. We've still got 16 seconds separating the top 30.
So talking about the corners, everyone's taken this one pretty nicely, but the one that Diggins, that was quite wide from, I think quite catchy that was, maybe one of the Norwegians there took it very wide indeed, but we've got this hill here that we had on the sprint course yesterday, and then there's the really sharp corner down to the stadium. Have a look at how people take that corner, because a lot of them were skidding round, whereas if you can step, you can maintain a lot more speed, really accelerate out of the corner, and it does help preserve that kickback. So.
Interesting, but the big change here, Posey, is the pace is really a little more dynamic, and maybe coming in now for the second time off 6 laps. The big names beginning to think, okay, it's a little crowded here. I want to start breaking this field down a little.
Yeah, I think Hennig in front there looking very focused and very determined. And yeah, I think she'll be, she's not got a bad sprint finish on her in these distance races, but I think she'd like a few less people around.
28 there, that's Katharina Kubre from Germany, from Steinbach-Hallenberg. Again, an opportunity for a drink stop. I like the idea of the drink stop just through the 3.3 kilometre marker, because you get all your breathing recoveries by the time you're on those flat sections and before you head back out into the steep hills. Well, here we are. This is the bend, the testing bend, which is so vital at the end of this race today.
Yeah, it's going to be key in these last laps. People are so close together. It's a little bit messy coming around that corner in these big groups. So again, another reason why Hennig and some of those in the front might have pushed the pace a little bit. It's just about safety to be in first place as they get on that, as they get around that corner and not be jockeying for position.
And plenty tracks wide there, 4 tracks wide, and some of the athletes stepping out of the tracks left and right. Julia Kern still there, very impressed with Julia Kern today. The tall American towards the back of this huge pack, actually, coming up to completion of the second lap of 3.3 kilometres.
Just having a little look out there, I think Rosie Brennan is still in that pack as well. She's in the second from the right on the screen, in the line that Slin's in there. She's been looking tired the last few days, but she is still hanging in the pack at the moment.
So that lap, I make it around 9:36 actually, and the first lap was 9:04. There's the drink stops. That was Eva Anderson, bib 2, trying to grab that drink. It's always difficult when the coach is standing static and not running alongside, but when you're handing out so many bottles, you've got your handfuls. It's a big responsibility. So 13, Astrid Øyreslind. Is this the move now to try and break the field down further? So maybe a decisive manoeuvre here, or move to the front from Astrid Øyreslind. Her career, it's been quite a strange career, hasn't it? She started in 2008 in terms of World Cup racing through to 2014. Then a 9-year gap before she went on to do the long distance Loppet races, and some 9 years till she came back to World Cup racing last season.
It is fascinating, and a really unusual career, and it's actually, for me, she's a great example of perseverance and determination, because a lot of the reason she made that switch is because she just wasn't getting on the national team. And you think about all the years recently there's had Johaug and Bjørgen and some great names, and it's been such a, we talked this year about the relative weakness of the Norwegian women's team, but it's possibly a result of how hard it was to get on because of those women who were dominant for a long time. So she said, yeah, I'm going to go somewhere else, went over to do the distance skiing, and then that's put her in really great shape, and she was able to get a couple of World Cup starts last year and capitalised on them, did brilliantly, and that was pretty much full-time on the World Cup.
Yeah, it's a lovely story, and of course the success in Planica at the World Championships, and of course she came second over this distance in Lahti in Finland in March last year, so she really has got the history when it comes to the longer distance.
It certainly feels like the pace is upping now. That's Frida Karlsson again, I think. Just try and get a look through the trees there, but I think that's Frida Karlsson who's got in front of Slind, and this is starting to stretch out a little bit more now. It feels like Slind and Karlsson are really starting to ramp up the tempo.
Huge change in pace, absolutely. Hjortberg pulling out. So welcome back. A big change in pace, without a doubt, in the upper, or reaching up towards the high points on lap 3. Just trying to see where Jessie Diggins is. Is she in this lead pack? She's not, but she's there or thereabouts.
No, I think we've got Karlsson, Niskanen, Slind, I think that's Katarina Hennig, and then Anderson looked like she was putting in a bit of work as well to get up. So those 5 have a little bit of a gap. It's still, we've seen in this course, there is time to come back. It's a slight flatter section coming up and then a last uphill. So I don't know they've got quite enough space just yet, but certainly they're trying to make a move. There's Diggins on the left of the screen there. She's in that sort of back of that second group.
Slightly concerned for me there, Cozy. She's doing a lot of double pulling on the fairly steep section. I do hope that her grip wax is working well to assist her up these climbs.
Yeah, I think, as you said, I think it should be a manageable grip wax kind of day, and I think if she's doing that, it's maybe just what she thinks is best. Rosie had a slip there, but for me that was technique rather than the wax.
I'm wondering. So, but the pace really has picked up, and those you can see in the background there are thinking and absolutely reasoning that this is now a serious part of the race. Stadlober's reacting and trying to come forward. Heidi Weng's trying to make contact again with this lead breakaway.
Yeah, it looks like Stadlober's done a great job there to come through. There is Brennan on the right. I think she always looks very tense. I think it's her skiing style isn't relaxed, but she is putting in a big shift to try and get up to that group. There's Diggins. I think she's got a grip, but she had a little stumble there, but she was skiing fine till that point. She looks tired though to me now.
She looks tired, but I do think she's sadly for her, I think those skis are not gripping as well as those around her.
Well, it's always hard to tell, isn't it? And she's also might have made that call to, she knows how good she is on the downhills, just a touch less, so she's faster on the downhills. And there, as I say, if she's still close enough, she can make contact again on these downhills. And she might be thinking, I've got to preserve energy. I don't need to go with it, but I have to stay just within distance for each loop.
Well, this is going to be a tough task now. Theresa Stadlober at the front, the Austrian really taking the initiative. So it was Astrid Eurisch-Slind coming through at 6.6 kilometers, decided to really pick the pace up. Then Frida Karlsson at the front, now it's Stadlober at the front.
Yeah, Brennan's made contact again as well, and Heidi Weng also has come back to this group. So it was 5, now it's increased again back to, I think, 8, 9 athletes.
And let's just have a look. It is, of course, going to be picking up at 2 occasions, 2 points along the journey at 9.3 kilometers and 15.9, an opportunity to sprint or be first through those very specific points to pick up 15 extra World Cup points, and only the first 10 athletes through will pick up points, so 15, 12, 10 reducing to 1 point. And but it is early if they are chasing those points. That's coming up, of course, this time around.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting. They're coming up to the top point of the hill, so this is certainly strung out an awful lot more than it has done on the first 2 laps, but is it enough to actually create a permanent gap, or will we see a few more managing to rejoin and come back together again on the downhill? And it does, it seems at this point you can have almost like 50 meters or something and you think there's no way it'll happen, but it's such a long downhill, there is an opportunity for more people to make their way back up to the front.
I think so, but it's been a serious test, a serious turn of pace. It seems to be calming down again, and therefore we're getting more athletes coming back in to the back. It was 5, but now we're probably up to, well, 15, 16 athletes. Jessie Diggins, I do think she'll be going through some nervous moments right now, actually. Where is she? She should be coming into picture fairly soon. Well, we've moved up to the front again. So on lap 3, now we're heading back down towards the stadium, the very, very fast section from the high point of the course. They're just starting switchbacking the way back down through the forest.
I think that counts 13 in that group at the moment, so more have managed to reattach to those 5 who made the original break, so a couple more managed to come on. Will there be any more? I think that's Diggins in this chasing group here. There's 2 more, Victoria Carl and Diggins just behind. I think they'll make contact by the bottom of the hill here.
Good momentum, some standing tall, those further back just taking it a little cautiously.
Diggins' skis are absolutely flying. That's Diggins that we can just see at the back of the group coming around the hill there. Her skis are absolutely brilliant.
Yep, she is back. So you're right. You're so right. The skis are gliding fast, but I'll stick to my guns. And I do believe on the up climb, well, there, Jessie, she nearly stumbled over there on the back there of the group, trying to make contact again.
Well, we'll have a view here. I think she's certainly got some. I'm not sure I'm agreeing with you on this one, Mike, I'm afraid, but it's interesting because again, it's coming up to these bonus trophies, and she's been working so hard to get the bonus points every single race we've seen because of her fight for the overall. I think she's a little bit too far back now, but she has got herself up to second in the line that she's in, so she might be able to nab a few.
It's so tough to put in a massive turn of pace. All runners, all cyclists will know how tough this is. Well, it's Niskanen, Brennan, Hennig, Stadler, but Diggins, she's managed to get 6 extra World Cup points, and she wasn't even in contact with this group 1 minute and 20 seconds ago. Absolutely blazed that part of the trail, and the pace, I think, will just drop back a little.
Yeah, I will agree with you on that one.
Well, thank you very much.
it will drop back a little bit, but so then for someone like Diggins, she's clearly struggling a little bit on these uphills today. I think a little bit of tiredness digging in, so she's got to be thinking though, if I let a little bit of time go, but I'm just saving something in reserve for the downhills, is that enough, or how much of a gap can she let go? It's so difficult to judge that because, you know, it can grow too much, you can let people go, but equally it's risky to make yourself work too hard and to completely overcook it.
I'm actually going to count how many times she slips this next time up the hill. But no, great to see Jessie Diggins coming back in there. Sophie Lauckley, 43.7.
It's a great race for her. She's much stronger in skate than classics, so I wasn't really expecting her to see her, but I think confidence at a high for Lauckley after not just that hill climb result in the Tour de Ski, but a few other great results on Saturday and in Goms as well.
So coming in to the stadium area, and it is back again. There were 5 almost at the top of the climb, and now we've got a full, I think it is 13 athletes in this lead group. The big names are there, and just coming up now to, well, half distance, and that was quite an impressive attack there we saw all the way up the big climb. So a full impact of 5 minutes of pace change takes the stuffing out of your legs.
Yeah, absolutely, and we had 29 in a group last time through. Now we're down to 15, so possibly for those like Slind and Niskanen, Hennig who are doing the work, they're just going to think, well, I'm just going to keep doing this every lap. Every lap there'll be a few less that can stick with it, and hopefully by the end, you know, we'll be down to a small group. I suspect that is the tactics.
And I suspect that is relentlessly where those who are not feeling great today, or those who are maybe got some technical issues going on, but all the while we've seen Kerttu Niskanen, Bib 7 at the front. Alongside her is Lynn Svan. She's been a little back and then a little towards the front. A strange little journey. Anderson's there, Bib 2 on the far side in second place, and in front of her, looking pretty smooth and easy, it's Frida Karlsson.
Yeah, I think Svan's playing a canny game here. She's reacting again. She's got such a brilliant sprint finish that I don't think it's really in her interest to be up there pushing the pace, but she's staying quiet in the pack, responding when she needs to, covering any moves, but not putting in any more energy than she has to. Oh,
look at that in no man's land. two athletes, just try and get a little feel for who we have there. Just checking. I think it's Claudel and Feindrich, I think it is. And then further back, just behind them, is Laura Gimler and Patricia Aiduka at 28 seconds. So that's tough when you're 28 seconds behind at half distance. Now let's have a look. Jessie Diggins. She is at the back of that group. A lot of double polling. I really hope that she does manage to get some. There we are. She's been to the diagonal now and then straight back into double polling. Victoria Carl, I thought Posey Victoria Carl, she's letting them really make hard work for her, having to try and close this back down again.
Yeah, so this is where Carlson went on the last lap as well. This is where the pace really ramped up. So as they get into the meat of the climb, I guess you can call it, there's a very slight flat bit we just saw, and then it goes again. So again, Niskanen to me also looks like she's putting the work in. So I think it's just about attacking each time up this climb, dropping a few off, and you can see there's a gap opens again, and so the question is, will it grow even more this time? Will there be a few who can't hang on at all?
I think so. You can't keep when a gap is created, that absolutely means that you're suffering. Lauchley there, bib 14. Now we'll try and close them down again. It's good to see Matintalo there. She did perform well at the national championship. She is on form. There's Rosie Brennan and Jessie Diggins at the back of this pack.
She looks tight, I'll give you that, Mike. She does look like she's fighting the skis today.
Yes, and I think she's improved so much in terms of a classic style. That's, most of the season we've seen her relaxed and using the skis well, but I've just got that feeling that it's not quite as easy as it should be today. So a little slip there from Frida Karlsson at the front as well. The pace again, it's a furious pace coming up this climb. Heidi Weng's there, bib number 5. And Heidi Weng, you mentioned earlier the might of the Norwegian women's team, really since what, 2002, possibly earlier. Just absolutely difficult to win races. And I think Heidi Weng, I feel when you look at her history in terms of racing, she's had 11 wins, and then of course the Tour de Ski a couple of times, that was a win, and small tours she would often win then. But 29 times second place. She just couldn't get that high point with Therese Johaug and Marit Bjørgen sharing the spoils all the time.
It was such a tough time to be a good ski racer, I think, because in any other, as you say, in any other point, I think she'd have had so many more victories to her name. But those two, and Kowalska for Poland, were so dominant. There is Diggins again. She's not slipping, but she's not making it look easy. The upper body is looking very tense, and it feels like a lot of work is going through the arms here to make that work on those uphills. But on the other hand, she's got such fast skis on the downhills.
Well,
I don't know if that's Feindrich deciding to call it a day, or just, certainly not looking good. Yeah.
I think she was. I noticed she was slip sliding away there, and maybe just for the 4th time up this climb has decided that it's so much effort if the grip isn't there. The pace really is picking up once again. And the big names, the big classic specialists, apart from Victoria Carl in the background, bib number 3, not quite able to stay with this pace now.
So we are coming back up to the high point of the course again here on this 4th loop around. 7 in that group at the moment. 1, I think that's Lauchley, who's just off the back. But again, how many people will be able to reattach and rejoin that group as they get to the long downhill section? It was amazing. 12-15 second gaps were eaten up again on the 3rd lap.
It was quite incredible, and it depends. The momentum at the... Oh, she's not well at all. This is Nadine Feindrich. It's a medical scenario. We are at altitude here, not extreme altitude in terms of athletes racing, but it's certainly Feindrich there looking pretty unwell.
Yeah, but wish her the best, and hope it's nothing too serious there.
It's unusual. It's very unusual, but it's 3 very intense days of racing with the 15-kilometre, then the sprints yesterday, 20 kilometres today, and mass starts always make you push that a little bit harder to try and stay with the pack. And of course, if you're Niskanen, push even harder. You're doing most of the front work in this race so far.
Yeah, she's been putting a lot of work in there. Carlson's been doing her share as well, I'd say, and then the others are just almost reacting to stay stay on with the group. And again here they're working every section of the course, not just recovering on the downhills. They're pushing into each hill as much as they can.
So 7 at the front, and Laukli so desperate to try. Sophia Laukli trying to come back in on this, and it's a tough task. Victoria Carl there's Martin Tallow, spoke to her prior to the race, and here's Jessie Diggins. This will be interesting. She's now at the back. She's not slipstreaming those in the second chase group.
So we've got Laukli in a bit of no man's land. She's going to be desperately hoping she can make up to that group there, because otherwise that's going to be a lonely race. But she's brilliant for her in Classic. This is so far and away the best Classic race that she's had.
It is. I'm just beginning to think, Posey, that the magnificent 7 at the front might just keep themselves at the front. It's very tough now for the chasers to come back in on this, unless it really takes a significant drop in pace.
Yeah, it does feel like that gap is not going to come back. I think on the last loop we saw everyone had managed to rejoin by the time they came to this uphill. So this time around, if they haven't managed to do it by then, I just don't think they've got enough time, unfortunately.
Be interesting to see how fast this lap was. The first lap was 9:04. That was on the masstart and fresh legs. Then 9:36. Then 9:31. This is the second of the bonus trophies, and Jessie Diggins, there's no way back to pick up. She's got 6 points last time, but she's not going to achieve that this time around. Carlson looking easy. Anderson beginning to look a little tired there. Here comes Laukli. And Lynn Svan, well, when Lynn Svan is dropped off the lead pace, the pace is a foreign pace. Jessie Diggins coming back into the second of the chasers.
Yeah, so they have closed that gap up a little bit. At the top of the hill, they had 10 seconds just about back to Matintalo in that second group, and that's closed down to 6 seconds over the course of that, so they passed the gap. And again, they might just about make it back by the bottom of the hill into the stadium here, but I think this might be for good now.
And well, Niskanen still at the front there. The others will tuck in, I'm quite sure, behind. All the while, I'm feeling pretty good about Astrid Irish Slinde looking very comfortable in 4th place.
Yeah, absolutely. She's looking really good to me, and she's never missed them at all. I think Stadlober and Beng they sort of missed the first attack that Carlson and Niskanen put in, so they had to do quite a big bit of work to get back up to them there. So that's an extra bit of energy that they've used that the others haven't had to. So every time something like that happens, it's just a little bit less left in the tank for the end. Laukli so close to catching back on again here.
I'm very impressed with her to pull back. It's been a tough journey, all downhill to work so hard, double pulling. She's going to make contact, and I think that's great news for Sophia Laukli.
It's great news, but do you know what? It's going to be psychologically tough, because she's just going to make contact as they go up the hill for the 5th time, so she won't have a second to relax, and they'll be at it again. And
they're going to hit it hard again. So this is now coming up to the 5th of 6 laps, so only one further time around once this lap is completed. 3.3 kilometers, most time spent actually on the uphill, some 5 minutes 45 up to 6 minutes of uphill climb, and then the very fast drop off back to the stadium. Jessie Diggins wearing yellow. She's the World Cup leader. She's the distance cup leader. She really is now having to find that this is possibly her toughest race of the season.
Yeah, she's got to really dig in, but she knows how to do that for sure. So she'll be using those downhills every time, just thinking about maximising her position.
Well, so the 7 at the front are just, well, I was going to say being caught by Laukli. She hasn't quite managed to make contact yet. As you said, they're going to hit it hard, and she may well find herself left behind. But the chasing pack, it's looking slightly more healthy at this point, and I think they will be dropped off by some 10 seconds by the top of the climb.
Yeah, as they went through the stadium there, it was a 7-second gap back to Brennan, who's leading that chase pack. So I think if they've got 7 seconds there, we're going to see that extend, assuming that they all manage to maintain that pace. I think we're going to see that extended even more by the time they get round on the 5th lap.
So Niskanen still there at the front. Throughout this race, Frida Karlsson, bib number 6, has looked confident, and I think she's got more to give. I think she can amp this up further. And they'll be aware that the big chasing pack is almost within touching distance, some 6 seconds. But it's tough on this climb to pull back even 1 second once these gaps have opened up.
That's a Hennig that's dropped off as well there. I thought she was looking really comfortable in the group, but just suddenly, just in that first time out of the stadium, she's lost a little bit of time. And now Brennan is coming back to Laukli and Hennig.
Brennan, she's so tough, so gritty, such a strong mindset at 35, vastly experienced as well. And come on, Rosie Brennan, let's bridge that gap. Laukli running her way up the climb, very upright position. Look at Niskinsen's facial expressions, just gritting her way up this hill. I think, Rosie, I think we're going to see a bit of a pace change from Karlsson. Does she go on the second last lap? Does she leave it for the last lap?
She looks pretty good to me, and she's been right there next to Niskanen. The two of them have been going side by side each time up the hill. I think the two of them are looking pretty good, and they're certainly dictating what's happening. Everyone else, I think Slind is looking good. She's been able to just to stay in behind. The other three for me look like they're having to just respond and sort of desperately try and hang on. I think whereas the top three are looking comfortable.
Yes, and I think we don't have real raw sprinters in this group at all. And for me, if it does come down, and it probably will come down to the final 200 metres, for me, Astrid Øyre-Slind, bib 13, has got the double polling power to possibly punch her way through to take the victory, but still a long way to go in this race.
Yeah, and counterintuitive, although to say a distance specialist has got a great sprint, but sometimes these marathon skis do come down to these real sort of sprint outs at the end as well, so she's not inexperienced in that kind of scenario.
Look at the damage again. Where's the chasers? There's Laukli. Oh, she nearly made it back. She's in no man's land again, but the chasers, Rosie Brennan, bringing the big group. It appears a little closer, but it's probably not when we see the times.
Yeah, just say Hennig dropping even behind Laukli now as well. I think she's paid the price for going with that lead group. Really believed that she could do it today, but when you lose it, you can just start losing time so quickly. So she's just got to focus on regrouping and staying in with this group here. Diggins is hurting. This is classic Diggins, putting it all on the line at the moment.
She's going to have to suffer this time up the climb. Only one further time. She's gone out of the track to get a little more purchase. Head is up, still a little slipping even out of the track. Often you get a little more purchase there. Victoria Karl surprising me today, although these long climbs, not her favourite. She likes the undulations more.
Yeah, I think it's a really difficult track for her, and she did say, I hope the pace doesn't go off too fast, and maybe it has a little bit. Lynn Svan as well, just to say, we've come back to the front group now, but she was behind Diggins and also was looking pretty tired to me, and it's amazing how much harder the hills suddenly look when you see tired skiers going up, and the pace, the stride gets much shorter. It's a little bit more of I don't want to say a shuffle, but certainly not as dynamic as earlier.
No, definitely not. Legs are absolutely burning with the intensive 3 days of racing. It looks to me like Jessie Diggins is some now 35 seconds behind. She's just in behind, well, actually 4 seconds off Jonna Sundling, the Swede, who's in 12th position. So Jessie Diggins in 13th position right now.
Yeah, but this front group are still looking pretty good to me. I think all 6 of them coming back together. I had a few doubts about Stadlober at one point. She looked like she was maybe coming off the back, but she seems to be with them at the moment. And they're nearly at the top of the hill now, so you've just got to think, I just need to stay with them for 30 more seconds, and then we've got this downhill section where we should stay together. So from 7, as it was, it's Hennig who's been dropped from the crew here, the German athlete, just not liking this super long climb. Now the names and the athletes in the front 6 now, pretty much in terms of their ability in classic, they're pretty all much efficiently, levels are the same. They've got the arm power, they've got the leg power, and now it's down to strategy. Yeah, Anderson at the front for the first time. She's not been up there too much. She's been letting Karlsson and Niskanen do all of the work, but just, I think, desperate to make sure the pace stays high on these downhill sections as well.
So for the first time, yes, Ebba Andersson, we saw her very on the first lap just feeling the pace at the front, but we haven't seen much of her at the front since then, so she's obviously feeling pretty good. Bib number 2. Niskanen looking forever powerful. I think she wants this. She's hungry for this win today.
It's a perfect race. She's got to have been thinking this morning this is a perfect race for her. It's 20k classic. It's at 1400 meters altitude. She often does pretty well at altitude as well, so everything is lined up for her to have a good race. But there will be other women who will have been thinking the same as well. Carson's such a brilliant race in Oberhof in the last 20k classic, you know, when she had a really dominant victory. So a couple of people here all will believe that they can win it today.
Well, Stadlober looking brilliant throughout. She's going wide there. The skis are running well. She's got good grip on the climb. She's got a fabulous glide on the descent. This long descent coming down towards the stadium.
Yeah, and of course inspired by a brilliant podium for Vermeulen, his first podium for Austria on Friday as well. So great team spirit, I think.
Have a look at Stadlober. The skis, great line. She's a great alpine skier, so she had a great entrance and exit to that bend, but the skis are absolutely flying.
Absolutely amazing. She just suddenly got 2-3 meters. They've come back together, of course, but you know, that's time when she can rest, even 2 seconds of rest while they're coming back to her. And
this is the big punch on, I beg your pardon, it is the bonus trophy this time, of course, at 15.9 kilometers. So looking very, very good. Again, Astrid Eure-Schlind, bib 13 there. She's going to slide up through this marker. Andersson's there in the 3rd place. So 15 bonus World Cup points, then 12 to Carlsen, Andersson, Niskanen, Stadlober. I thought Stadlober would be charging for those points, and Heidi Beng picking up 5. Where's Jessie Diggins? She's further back. She won't pick up any bonus points here.
Yeah, Brennan's looking of this lead group. I think she's almost sort of reset herself, and she's looking of everyone there almost the most comfortable. I thought she looked pretty tense earlier on, but I think she's kind of found her sort of speed, and she's staying with it. Others are now starting to struggle a bit more.
Interesting. Well, this final lap coming up is going to be a brutal lap in terms of the climb. That's, I think, where the medals are going to be decided. Will the group stay together? We'll have to wait and see on the final lap.
Oh yeah.
I'm not saying anything. I'm not saying a thing.
I think a little bit of both, though. Maybe a little bit, but also when you're tired, you do slip more because you lose the technique. You don't stay over your skis. You don't push the ski down to get the grip. So I think it's a little bit both cause and effect. I'm hedging my bets.
Keep hedging. No, and you lose as soon as those big slips come. You're so frustrated, and you slip back, and you're having to build yourself back up again. We're coming through now for the final time through the stadium. The next time they come down the hill, it's to the finish line. And at the front is Astrid Eure-Schlind. We've got tucked in behind and looking very, very focused, Frida Karlsson. Niskanen's in there as well in 3rd place. Heidi Beng's there. Ebba Andersson's there as well. And Stadlober now finding herself in 6th place. So the lead group of 6 are through and away for the final time up the climb. This is the large chasing packs, some 20.8 seconds behind. And we've got a few little separations there. Lynn Svan is tired today. She's very tired. And this will be a real struggle around the last lap of 3.3.
Yeah, she had another one that went all the way through to the final yesterday, as did Diggins, of course. So, you know, she's not the only one out there who put in the work yesterday, but that does have an impact. But being out all day, the long day of the sprint days, a lot of these athletes in this front group, you know, some of them went on the start line, but they didn't get too far through, or they chose to sit it out.
And I think that, you know, the day of sprinting, it's mentally so fatiguing. Yes, you've got your time trial early on, and then you get your recovery, but you're waiting around. You're on tender hooks all day, and especially those who make it through to the final. It's a very stressful day mentally as well as physically. Now, who's going to go? Is anybody going to go? Niskanen there taking the bulk of the points, 23 of the 30 available.
Does look to me from this angle like those top 3 are very slightly coming away from the back 3. So I think that's the two Swedes, I think, and Astrid Eure-Schlind. You know, it is Stadlober to me, I think, is just dropping off the back a little bit.
She is. Jessie Diggins just making contact ahead of the back two there, but well, not saying she's slipping, but she's got very strong arms. She can get back into some double poling, and you know how tough she is. So welcome back. We're on the final lap here, lap 6 around these tough Olympic tracks in the beautiful, beautiful venue of Canmore. And it's really been a battle. There are now 6 at the front, well 5, and slightly being dropped off at the moment. It's Teresa Stadlober. She's got fabulous skis in terms of the glide and the descent, but she needs to try and stay with this pace change.
She was looking so good until this last time up the hill, and then as they went out of the stadium for the final time, she just started to slip away. I think just the accumulation of the high pace that's been held over the course of this race is starting to catch up. She's still giving it everything. I think she's certainly gonna hang on. It doesn't look like she's going backwards in the way Hennig did before, but I think she's left herself a lot of work to do. Niskanen and Carlson just looking so strong still at the front. They've been the ones pushing the pace every single time up the hill they've been in front.
And I think we're going to see it. I've always felt all along that Frida Karlsson's going to try and really create some damage here. I think it's of course well within her interest. I'm surprised at Ebba Andersson.
Yeah, I think she's now again. She's now looking tired as well. And again, as I say, these hills are so steep and they're so tough that as soon as you get tired, the technique does start to go a little bit. So it's really hard to keep the kick going and to maintain the momentum up the hill. As soon as you get tired, the head drops, the hips goes back. Hard to keep the ski moving forward.
And your legs super low, don't they? You almost feel that they don't belong to you, and that's how a lot of these athletes we're feeling now for the 6th time up this climb. There is a definite shift now in pace.
Yeah, so the question, I think, for these two Norwegians behind Slinden Veng, they've just got to think, we just have to be in sight of them. They know how much this draft makes an effect, how much the groups have been coming back together up the hill. They have to just not panic, think even if there's 2-3 seconds of they've lost contact, there is a chance to come back on the downhill.
There is a chance, but their chance is slimming down when we've got a 6-second gap now to 3rd place, and Astrid Øyreslund, they're just chopping away up this climb. The arms are dead, the legs are dead. There's Heidi Veng, the head is dropping, which takes the weight away from the waxing pocket when the head goes down and the hips go back. Oh, look at this. It is a breakaway, and I think it's going to be so tough now for the two Norwegians to come back into that lead section.
And because the pack is splintered so much as well, you don't have such a big draft effect. You've now got groups of 2-3 in that chasing pack. There might be sort of 4 or 5 together, but there's not the 6-7 athletes who are all getting the combined draft.
Well, Gertrude Niskanen, she's the only athlete to win 2 big distance classics this season, the only athlete in the World Cup field this year. She's chasing her 3rd, and she really is putting the pressure on now, realising full well that the win has to come from a very long way out today. I'm a little surprised that Frida Karlsson, I thought she'd be doing the lead work here, but she's clearly going through a very tired patch now, but I think she'll manage to stick in behind Gertrude Niskanen.
It's going to be a drag to the finish for these two. Niskanen's got a good finish on her as well when she's feeling good. So if these two stay together, it's going to be a tough call to say who can eke it out at the finish line.
And the tracks are quite glazed now. Some will be opting to step out of the glazed track, but these front 6 are looking okay. It's the fatigue that's playing the huge part now.
There is an opportunity as well, of course. There's a long downhill, but there is that final uphill that was on the sprint course yesterday as well before the last turn to the corner. With people being this tired, you can make a big move and you can try and push there rather than leaving it to a sprint as well. So,
and it is very deceptive, that final climb, isn't it? It looks okay from where we're sitting, but when you're on that hill, it's an extremely steep climb.
It really is, and I think if you can just put the hammer down and someone doesn't have anything in the tank, you can create a bit of a gap there.
Well, have a look at this. This is a little chessboard game, isn't it? Well, I do think that Frida Karlsson, the white suit, the Swedish athlete, she's on her limit, but she's in a cracking position now, just getting the benefit of drafting. And this is where the muscles and the legs and the arms get a little reprieve. just staying in the track, back to double pulling into arm power again.
Yeah, and Carlson tracking every move by Niskanen there. Niskanen just went one set of tracks to the left just to get the best line on the corner. Carlson instantly following everything she's doing.
Now I'm just thinking, with Frida Karlsson having improved her sprinting capabilities since Christmas, she might just be thinking, this is for me, this is the one for me, instead of Niskanen trying to break her on the track. She's still there in the draft of Niskanen.
Yeah, it's a hard call. Niskanen can have a good finish on her, as I say, but you're right, Carlson's really improved her sprinting.
And if she gets the slingshot, this drafting and the slingshot, but we'll have to wait and see. Niskanen will know full well she needs to get rid of Frida Karlsson on the final steep section, which is coming up very, very soon after this left-hander. Now, who's got the best line here?
Great corner by Carlsson there. Just look at the way she managed to just get around Niskanen, no problem at all. Niskanen, I think, will get back on her tail, but it looks to me like Carlsson is trying to make a break for it at this point in time.
Well, that's interesting. I think almost by default that Niskanen now finding herself, she should have been leading. She didn't take a great line into that left-hander. This is going to be interesting. It's not to your advantage to be leading under the bridge, so this is going to be very interesting. The pace will be kept firm here because the two Norwegians, Astrid Orislind and Heidi Weng, look like they're believing a little more. They can pull this back, but I think they're running out of time.
I think they are running out of time, and Slind's making a big break there as well behind them. Not quite sure if she's managing to get off to drop Weng, but Niskanen and Carlsson are neck and neck at the moment.
Oh, this is a brutal pace. 55 minutes on the clock now, just over 55 minutes. Oh, which way is third place going to go? It's going to be tight. It's going to be very tight.
They had a battle on Friday as well for fourth place. It was Weng versus Slind for that final podium spot on Friday. So that time Weng got the better of Slind. Will it be the same today? It's hard to call still.
Well, Niskanen fearless at the front. It's not in her best interest. This is the real decisive part of the track. You really don't want to be in first place at this moment in time if you want to take the victory.
I think there's no room for tactics for who's going first from where they were. They knew they couldn't afford to be playing around and stopping because of how close the Norwegians were behind. But this is good for Karlsson to be in front, behind.
It is good for Karlsson. She's in the perfect place at the perfect time. So coming in towards the home straight, it is slightly uphill, the final 200. For me, the advantage goes to, of course, Karlsson, who goes wide early. She's double pulling very early, just getting that little slingshot away from Niskanen. Niskanen will not give up, and looks like she's trying to come back on Karlsson. Oh, and I think Karlsson now has got maybe the psychological advantage into the final 50. Oh, great racing from Karlsson. Niskanen doing so much of the work on the track today, but in the end, it's the tactics. And what a fabulous finish from Frida Karlsson, and another victory coming up for Karlsson. What a career she has had. Niskanen, well, she did so much of the hard work. Looks to me like Heidi Weng is going to come through just. Well done to Heidi Weng. Oh, third over 15 kilometre, third over 20 kilometre for Weng.
Just again pipping out Slind on the line, exactly the same as on Friday. That's two fourth places for Slind is tough. Anderson, I thought she might be a little bit more competitive, but she was looking good until that last time up the hill, and then no one could match the pace of the top two.
Oh, I just wonder what's going through Niskanen's mind. Should she have been in second place? Should she have had a slightly different strategy? Stadlober, Mattenthaler, Sundling, 6, 7 and 8. Jessie Diggins trying to make a top 10. Well, she has made 10th position. The points are still good in that part of the race. Hennig, Karl together, the two Germans, and Brennan always there or thereabouts, 14th position. And that's a good day from